Hello friends, welcome to Rain's Kitchen and Garden. My name is Rain. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about what you need to start your cheese making journey. For certain cheeses like cottage cheese or ricotta cheese, you don't really need any special equipment other than maybe some cheesecloth. That's really about it. But if you want to make a cheese like a cheddar or a mozzarella or a nice bloomy white cheese like camembert, you definitely need some special equipment and special ingredients. So I'm going to go over the equipment list first, and in another video I'll talk about all of the ingredients that you're going to need. I remember when I first started making cheese at home, I did a search online for home cheese making, and I found a website in Canada. I don't think it exists anymore, but they were marketing this little package of ingredients to make cheddar cheese at home. And the label said, just add milk. Wow, yes, they had all the correct ingredients, and the idea was that you just had to add milk, but they didn't mention that you needed a cheese cave to ripen the cheddar and a cheese press to make the wheel of cheese and other things. I was extremely disappointed when the cheese definitely did not work out, but it motivated me to start doing more research from more credible sources. So I put together a list of all the equipment that I would need to make a proper wheel of cheese, and it does start with a cheese cave. Now, most of us don't have the luxury of an underground cheese cave, right? With perfect temperature and perfect humidity to make delicious cheeses, but there are ways around that. I myself have a small fridge. I call it my cheese cave, and I only use it for ripening cheese and for storing my cheese brine. Now, most cheeses need to ripen at 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit. There are some recipes online out there that tell you that you can just ripen them in the vegetable crisper of your big fridge. I've tried that, and I don't think it works very well. I do have a friend who uses his wine fridge because he's able to control both the temperature and the humidity inside of the wine fridge. I can't control the humidity inside of my little cheese cave, but again, I've found ways around that. I think as long as you have a little fridge that you can dedicate to cheese making and that you can keep at 10 degrees Celsius, you'll be just fine making cheese. But really, this is a piece of equipment that you absolutely need. It's vital, and it's going to be your biggest investment in cheese making. Another piece of equipment that this company that I sarcastically call the Just Add Milk company, they didn't mention that you needed a cheese press. When you're making hard cheeses, you need to press the cheese under specific weight, anywhere from 18 to 8 hours to form the wheel as it releases the whey. Now this photo shows my homemade cheese press. My late husband made this for me when I started making my cheese in 2017. It works really well. I use an old water jug filled with water to press down on the wheel of cheese. I fill it with water and I put it on my bathroom scale to check the weight, because different cheeses need different weights to press them down to form the wheel. To wrap your cheeses while they're ripening, well, for hard cheeses, I think you'll need a vacuum sealer that's big enough to accommodate a large wheel of cheese. In the case of soft cheeses like a brie, you'll need special paper that breathes. You can purchase this at any cheese-making supply store. It's called cheese paper. To ripen certain cheeses, you need a ripening box. You can control the humidity in a ripening box. This is the box that I use, and I basically just put a wet piece of paper towel inside of the box, and I change it every day, and it keeps the humidity relative. For most hard cheeses, you don't have to worry about the humidity as long as you have properly sealed your wheel in a vacuum sealer. You need to have pots that will be big enough to handle a lot of milk. There are some cheeses that require up to 12 liters of milk. Also, in some cases, you'll need a double boiler that can accommodate large pots as well. I use my canning pot for that purpose. Because you have to constantly monitor the temperature of your milk and of your cheese curds, you will need a proper thermometer. A digital thermometer works best for this. Of course, you'll need measuring tools and dishes. These little mini measuring spoons are very handy because a lot of the times recipes call for very small amounts of bacterial cultures, like a 1/16th of a teaspoon or a 1/64th of a teaspoon. You'll need a slotted spoon for mixing the milk and the curds. You'll also need a whisk and a curd knife. A balloon whisk works much better than the thinner version. And as for a curd knife, you just need a flat knife that's long enough to go from the top of your pot to the bottom. I use a dollar store icing knife. A large colander and cheesecloth is also a necessity, but I found that butter muslin works much better than cheesecloth and it lasts a lot longer. To shape your cheeses, you'll need a variety of cheese molds and followers. The type and size of mold and follower will depend on the cheese that you're making. A lot of cheese recipes will recommend that you salt the cheese, but I prefer to salt my cheeses in brine, so you'll need a container that'll hold enough brine for your wheel of cheese to float in. Here I have some bamboo mats and some plastic mesh mats that are very important to use when you're draining and ripening certain cheeses. Some cheeses grow mold while they're ripening, and unless you're making a blue cheese, you don't want this, so it's always handy to have a clean vegetable brush for brushing off the mold on the cheese. This is a hygrometer and a thermometer. It comes in very handy to monitor the temperature in my cheese cave and the humidity in my ripening boxes. A pH meter is necessary for pizza mozzarella or stretchy mozzarella. Some people claim that using pH strips will work. Maybe it does for them, but it really never did for me. Also, when making stretchy cheeses like mozzarella, you'll need a set of very good food-grade gloves that can hold a high temperature, because when you stretch these cheeses, they're usually very, very, very hot. I don't think I've missed anything. This is all of the equipment that I have in my arsenal. All of this equipment is quite an investment, so if you're serious about home cheese making, it's best to get all of the equipment that you need so that you'll be successful. Since I started making cheese in 2017, oh my gosh, I've made cheddar, fresh mozzarella, pizza mozzarella, which by the way is one of the hardest cheeses I've ever made. I tried 12 times, I believe, and I got it right on the 12th time, and then I gave up. I've made Colby, Monterey Jack, Parmesan, Fontina, goat cheese, ricotta, and cottage cheeses, yogurt and sour cream, which are fermented milk products. I've made feta, American-style cheese, like the Kraft cheese that you would buy, Cheese Whiz-style cheese, Swiss-style cheese, raclette cheeses, Jarlsberg cheese, and my favorite, Camembert. This was an exciting hobby for me, and of course, I always got to eat the results, so it made it even better. I mostly make Colby, Jarlsberg, and Camembert cheeses now. But maybe one day, if I find the time, I'll go back to making other styles of cheese. I love making cheese at home because I know what's going into it, and it's a fun process. So friends, that's the list of equipment that you'll need to have to start making cheese at home. Of course, I mentioned if you want to make homemade yogurt or homemade cottage cheese, you don't need all of this special equipment. In fact, I have a video on how to make homemade lactose-free cottage cheese, and I'll put a link above and in the description below, as well as 2 videos on how to make yogurt at home. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. My next video will talk about the special ingredients that you'll need to make cheese. Don't forget to like and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new videos that I post. And please do share this with anyone you might think will enjoy it. And leave me a comment. Do you make cheese at home? I'm always curious to know how people put together their own cheese caves and ripening boxes, so please let me know in the comments. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on Rain's Kitchen and Garden. Bye!